Welcome back. We're here to talk about Saturday's Premier League match between Bournemouth and Leicester. Start with the home side. Pascal got their first Premier League win of the season last time out, and what a game it was.
It was a great game, 4-3 at West Ham, and yeah, really important for them to get that first win out of the way because they've been, two 1-0 defeats to start the season. They've been, quite unlucky against Liverpool and Aston Villa, but certainly not against West Ham. It could have easily been more. They played absolutely brilliantly, and Callum Wilson with the hat trick as well, the headline. Brilliant performance, and I think that's really big for him to get those goals because he got so many chances in the Championship last year, and I think that I've said before that I worried if he might struggle with the finishing if he was going to get less chances against Premier League teams, but some of his finishing, the first goal especially, that volley was absolutely fantastic. At first, really difficult as well, fired in, and to hit that first time into the net like that was a brilliant goal, and so many other players impressed as well. Gradle really impressed. He should have scored one chance, but he really impressed me as well, and it was a fantastic performance, and now a home game here against Leicester, their second home game of the season now, and the mood will be really good around the camp, especially because they beat Hartlepool in midweek as well, 4-0 away from home in the Cup. Things looking good for them, and certainly that win at West Ham was really impressive.
Yeah, they'll be absolutely flying, weren't they? 8 goals in the last 2 games. They were such an attacking force in the Championship, but the first 2 games against Aston Villa and Liverpool, they had chances to score, and they didn't seem to have that attacking, that finishing product in the final third after making the step up from the Championship. But as you say, that was completely evident against West Ham. 4 more goals against Hartlepool, and I think it's so important for them to get that monkey off their back. It was everything about it, the first goal, and then to get 3 more goals after that, the first point, the first win. I think it's important now for them to get a home win under their belts, because you think with relegation candidates, if they are to stay up, it's usually based on a good home record. So they need to get that first home win under the belt. I've said before about the atmosphere at their home stadium for Premier League games. It feels more like a cup game. I think as they grow into the season more, that will be less and less the case. And as soon as they get that first win under the belt and they start feeling that they belong at this level, which they do, and they showed that against West Ham, they're more than capable of competing at this level, then things will start getting better and better for them, and they'll fancy their chances now after a couple of really good games for them.
Yeah, I think there's certainly boosts, in terms of the selection for Howe as well. Harry Arter, who was their best midfielder last season, he hasn't been able to start the season. He's had a hip injury, but I think he's about sort of rated 50% for this game. And even if he can't come back for this one, then there's the international break, so he should be definitely fit after the international break. Once he comes back, that's a big boost because in central midfield they've been playing, Ewan O'Kane, who last season hardly played at all because last season Eddie Howe basically had a fully fit squad the whole year and he could pick his first choice 11 pretty much every week, but hasn't been able to do that this year. He sort of played Gosling, O'Kane, and with Sermon in midfield. But I think if Arter comes back, that could be huge for them. Christian Atsu, who it didn't really work out for him at Everton last year, but earlier on this year he was named the best player of the tournament at the Africa Cup of Nations. So he played against Hartlepool in midweek, so if he can come back and do things, they've certainly got exciting players. Wilson's really quick and exciting. They've got Gradle, Matt Ritchie, who's certainly, I was worried if he'd be able to make the step up because he was great in the Championship, but he's looked really bright in the Premier League. But Gradle, Atsu, Ritchie, there's some really exciting players around Wilson, and even if sometimes they might, concede a couple of goals, like they did against West Ham, you certainly feel with all that talent that they could outscore a lot of teams like they did against West Ham. So, yeah, like I say, things looking really good for Bournemouth. If Arter comes back as well, that'd be a huge boost, and I see they're in for Lewis Grabban as well. And I'm not sure they necessarily need another striker. Grabban, the situation at Norwich is weird because he went AWOL from the hotel, I think, in midweek, and they've got Camorgan and Rancy, a couple of other strikers up there. But yeah, like I say, I think the squad is looking really good at the moment. They've made that adapted to the Premier League well, and Eddie Howe, they play such good football.
I think before the season they would have earmarked this game as one that they might be able to get 3 points from, but Leicester, they've started the season magnificently well, just picked up exactly where they left off at the end of last season when they did that great escape. Ranieri's done a superb job coming in, still unbeaten, lost their 100% record last time out against Tottenham, but even then they were fairly unfortunate to lose that. Mahrez ran the show again. He's been so good so far this season, got another goal and a really well taken goal as well, proper quality goal. That's 4 and 3 for him. He's already equalled his total from last season in 3 games this time around, and he hit the post as well, so he could have got a second in that match. It was quite. They did really well to bounce back because obviously they conceded fairly late on and then bounced back with that equaliser straight away. And some teams who were expected to be relegation candidates, they may have let their heads drop there, but Leicester are in just such good form that was never going to happen. They were never going to give Tottenham an easy time of it, and Ranieri would be delighted with the start his side had made, and you'll see this as another chance to carry on that winning run, because Bournemouth, as we say, they've been encouraging, but Leicester have just started the season so well. They've been one of the standout performers in the league so far.
You mentioned Mahrez there, and they've got so many other sort of players. I mean, I'd completely forgotten about Kramaric, that he was still there until I saw him in the League Cup in midweek. They've still got him as an option. Ulloa, who looked good in periods last season, he's barely got a look in because of how well Okazaki is playing. You mentioned Mahrez there, who's doing fantastically, and you just look at their run since April the 1st, 29 league points since the start of April if you date back to last season. That's more than anyone else. Only Man City have scored more than them this year, one of 6 unbeaten teams. All the stats for Leicester, that they are brilliant, and like I say, so many positives. And I think what really impressed me, you mentioned it there, was how they hit back straight away against Spurs, because that game against Spurs, it had been fairly even, not too many chances, and you felt that going towards the final 10 minutes that probably Leicester might nick it just because they're the home team and they were in a really good vein of form. But when Ali scored that goal, you just thought, could this be their bubble bursting? And then you worried that it might sort of set off a tail of events that might sort of lead to a dip in form. But the way they hit back straight away, and with the star man Mahrez, it just keeps that confidence high, doesn't it? And they'll go into this game against one of the newly promoted teams thinking this is a chance for another 3 points.
It should be an entertaining game from what we've seen so far. What's your score prediction?
I think it really should be, like you say, Bournemouth scoring all those goals last weekend. Leicester, they've been free flowing as well, so I think there will be goals in this one. I can't really separate the two. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I see goals. Should be a very, very entertaining game. Leicester perhaps might go into it as favourites, but then Bournemouth will be on a high after those two last results, so I'm going to agree with the 2-2 draw there. So both going for draws in this one. Thanks for joining us.